Hello, Jim Sayegth. Now, last time I appeared, I had sent out an email, and you had apologized for it not being circulated, and I really didn't care. It was fine. I am a little more upset this time that something as important as deciding to put commercial condominiums back in when it makes no sense, when I don't think the ordinance as drafted has any understanding of how condominium associations work. I just have a practical and intellectual difference with something that is in Never Never Land. You cannot cite a commercial condominium without citing a residential condominium. It is not possible. If a building is entirely commercial, then you can. If you want to say commercial condominiums are in buildings that do not have a single residential unit in them, that's fine. The presumption is that there's two different sets of common areas, that there's a commercial common area and a residential common area. There's not. The whole building, the whole condominium document is set up by proration to take whatever the square footage is of a unit, whether it's commercial or residential, and say this is your percentage of ownership of the common areas. So let's try and take a practical example, and let's use 812 Oak as an example. If somebody at Baird, who's a tenant in 812 Oak, calls and says, I have a leak. It is coming through my ceiling tiles. My landlord refuses to do anything about it. Village, get involved. Okay? There are two problems with that. One, the roof that is causing the leak is not owned by the commercial landlord. The roof is owned by the condo association. So every resident in that building owns, let's say, 6 or 7% of that roof, is going to be cited, is going to have to come up with 6 or 7% of the cost of replacing that roof or of fixing that roof. The second problem I have with it, this is supposed to be geared towards taking landlords or tenants who are not living up to their responsibilities and saying you have to live up to your responsibilities. Again, I'm reiterating what I said last time, and it seemed to resound, and I don't know what the impetus to bring this back was. I would be interested to know what the impetus to bring this back was, because I would like to know if any trustee even requested that this had been brought back up. But there is no causal link between that landlord's actions or inactions, that landlord being responsible or irresponsible, and Baird's ceiling tiles leaking. None. So you are unwittingly citing the entire condo association and putting that commercial property owner's feet to the fire for something that the commercial property owner did nothing to cause. He or she paid their association dues every month with the presumption that that roof would be maintained. And the roof was not maintained. Now, Illinois condominium law says you have to maintain that roof. The remedy for that tenant or unit owner, and by the way, most landlords want to immediately take care of that problem as quickly as possible. They would go to the condo association, say you have a responsibility under these documents to address this problem immediately. And if you don't, I have action against the condo association. So the notion that you can somehow separate and make part and parcel this code to one quotient of a condominium association and not have it apply to the other is completely fallible. Completely fallible. And I'm sorry, I believe that there is not the expertise in this document necessary to make the judgments that it's made. I'm sorry to take such a strong opinion on it, but it's aggravating when there is something you have done for 12 years and you know it to be fact, and you're seeing a document that is littered with completely unfactual information. And I don't want to see this council pass something that makes absolutely no sense and does not have any validity. So I'm happy to answer any questions because I feel very strongly that we're going down the wrong road. If we feel in the commercial districts that there is a commercial property and as you walk past it, it needs tuck pointing, or there is something about that building and its appearance that is detracting from the overall quality of the commercial district, the party responsible for that property looking that way is the condominium association, residents and all. So I come back, and then to Mr. Hecht's point, I don't think it would even be legal to apply this code to one class of ownership and not the other. I don't even know how you administrate that, to say, if it's owner-occupied, this code applies to you. But the same unit, the same parcel of real estate, if it's owned and used and a leasehold interest is conveyed on it to a tenant, well, then the code applies. That all brings me back to something that I feel would serve this council a lot better. What you're after is not even a property maintenance code. You are after a landlord-tenant ordinance. A landlord-tenant ordinance would be way more appropriate because if somebody decides to rent their property, then they present a lease, a Village of Winnetka lease, with the rights and responsibilities of landlords and the rights and responsibilities of tenants. And I am sympathetic to people who are living in less than good conditions. And what would serve them best is something like these leases. In these leases, it has things like heating cost disclosures. These are the practical problems tenants have. I have residential tenants. They don't know what their gas bill is going to be for the winter. They don't know what their electric bill is going to be for the winter. Turn to the City of Chicago's lease. Turn to the City of Evanston's leases. This is what they say. And by the way, it bypasses a lot of the controversy of having a code like this exist, which you all know is out there. So that's my take on it. It even does address Mr. Heck's issue with how you would apply this. And it gives people a choice. If they want to rent their properties, they know they'll have to abide by this lease. If they don't want to rent these properties, then they will not have to. But to simply say you're going to have a code imposed on you regardless, I don't think it's fair, and it's certainly not fair or meritorious in the case of commercial condos.